It's time to play the music. It's time to light the lights. It's time to meet the Muppets on Franchise Unpacked tonight. Dum, bum, bum, boom.
That was good. That was good. Welcome back, you guys, to another episode of Franchise Unpacked. My name is Zach.
And this is Dave.
And today we are talking about the lovely Muppets.
The Muppets!
Which I'm pretty stoked about. Yeah, Dave is going to be outrageously animated this episode.
Yeah, a lot of voices, probably.
And, you know, all this cold weather's been like putzing with my throat,
I
so
was
I'm going to attempt to join in on that.
I sound a little dry. My hands are dry.
I know. You guys, it's going to be,
bleed.
Not to like
so
date
bad.
this episode, but we're about to enter a polar vortex, here in the Michigan mitten, and it's supposed to be negative 50 with the wind chill.
Wind chill, yeah, it's going to be
like,
bad. The high is -3. That's the high. That's crazy to me.
Well, and
that's without wind chill.
Before the wind chill, the high or the low was -12. Before the wind chill, I'm just like that's nuts.
Yeah.
So
Meteorology Unpacked. Here we are.
Yeah, if you're in Michigan, it's going to be too late by the time you hear this podcast.
So if you're stuck in your car and frozen somewhere, throw us on. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect. This will warm you up.
Perfect
this is
reason.
A shameless self-plug in your final moments.
And what keeps warm and cozy than the Muppets?
Right.
There's stuff.
Hope you liked the Adventure Time episode.
Yeah, right? Yeah, go back to it.
So yeah, the Muppets, which this was a super interesting topic for me because this is one that I'm definitely not super familiar with. So in doing research, I kind of fell in love with the Muppets in doing the research for it.
And it's also the same thing when I was doing the research as well, that you start remembering things that you might not necessarily have realized. It's one of the small things is the song Phenomena. A lot of people don't realize that's from the Muppets.
Yeah.
Phenomena. And that's all we can play for you.
Yeah, because we are pitch perfect and it will be recognized.
And we'll get sued. But other than that, so it kind of, it's, to me, the Muppets have always been in the zeitgeist, sort of. It's just been this cultural phenomenon almost that has always just kind of been present, you know. But it was started back way back in the 50s, actually, on a show called Sam and Friends in 1955.
55, yep.
Yeah, and created by Jim Henson and his eventual wife, Jane Nebel, N-E-B-E-L. I
don't know that I heard a pronunciation of it. And by the way, just before we dive into this, in the future, we're going to kind of ask permission from anybody on Reddit or anything we got. But you guys are flipping awesome.
We got to thank everybody. Yeah,
we got a lot of great responses from the Muppets subreddit, and you guys really helped us to sort of decipher some of these facts from the past, and
a lot of cool links.
Yeah,
some great information
awesome
I had never heard of,
and like backed it up. So thank you guys so much. We don't want to name you individually in case you didn't want to be named,
but from here on out,
we'll definitely be asking.
If you tweeted us, if you send us an email, we'll use just your first name, maybe your address, social security number,
and then
other than that,
if you have any tattoos, we need to know the location.
List of top 10 fears.
Yep.
And then I think it should be good.
I'm just thinking, like, what could those fears be used for?
I know, a top 10. That's I have a couple feers, like spiders, but like that's 10.
Top 10.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But from here on out, we love all of the feedback and any comments or any suggestions. But from here on out, we will be in future episodes. We just want to let you guys know that we will be using your either usernames, most likely usernames, or a first name if you provide.
Sure.
That.
Well, and the whole thing, the whole thing with this podcast for us is we want to build this community. We want to build a community of people that love franchises and that love series and love, really, it's just love pop culture and media.
We want you to give us second, third, fourth episodes, like a part 2 to this. We want drown us in information.
Yeah, because we
want to be able to talk about it.
And also, I guess this is a good time to kind of plug. We actually did make a Reddit for Franchise Unpacked. It's just r/Franchise Unpacked. So feel free to join us there. There's nothing really up there yet because we're still kind of building it up, but it's just kind of like the same with the Instagram and the Twitter and the Facebook. We're building it right now.
Trying to get on all those social sites.
So join us for the ride. But so thank you guys to everyone on Reddit, and also a super special thanks to the YouTube channel 101 Facts. because they did have a lot of really cool kind of rapid fire facts. And, you know,
Kind of compilation style, yeah.
right. And this show isn't really all about just spewing facts. You know, that's not what we're all about. But having those facts really did kind of inform the way that we're thinking about a lot of this stuff. So thank you.
And also, getting to see the performances of the show or any sort of media in that context or out of context, even just seeing guest stars flashing by.
Sure.
Like, oh, that's great. You know,
Yeah,
I didn't know they were on.
It gives you that context that helps us out so much.
Absolutely. So keep it coming, guys.
Yeah.
But we're back to the Muppets now.
Yes.
Back in 1955. In Washington, D.C., I understand this was a sort of a local television show for children, you know, with puppets. Kermit made his first appearance here. Rolf,
Yeah, well, and it was
Miss Piggy.
I think that's so cool. Like this started off as just a segment. You know what I mean? This wasn't a whole thing. And from what I understand, Henson was actually asked to make the puppets. He wasn't like planning on doing puppetry or anything like that.
Writing,
you know?
producing it all. Yeah, it was his company was hired just to make the puppets. And I mean, at the time, that's probably he's like, okay, great, yeah, sure. But
yeah,
I feel it kind of goes a little hand in hand or hand in puppet. But you want that performer there, especially once you start seeing what they did with these puppets.
Right.
And I don't know how the technology has obviously progressed since the 50s and when they were making puppets. But even when you look at Kermit, just kind of the base Muppet, the OG guy, when the way that they can just manipulate the face and the mouth and the lips and give him like a curled lip when he's, confused or something.
Yeah.
It's just a really funny, it adds that much more to such like a simple little thing that is a green frog puppet.
Right.
You know? And
he wasn't even supposed to be a frog. Did you?
I don't know. No, I didn't read
in my
that.
research. So I found this. This for some reason really interested me. In my research, I found that originally he wasn't supposed to be a frog. He was just a puppet. He was a
monster
Muppet
guy.
And he wasn't actually a frog until the 1960s. Is when they kind of acknowledged, like, hey, you're a frog, and that's when they gave him that collar, the triangle collar,
like lily pad collar.
And the reason that was there was to hide the seam between his neck. So like
clever.
Yeah, I was like, man, I always wonder what came first, like him being a frog or the change in costume, or did somebody call him out as being a frog? Because that was just made from his mom's petticoat and some ping pong balls. Like that's.
I'm wondering if when they start introducing more and more Muppets, because a lot of the Muppets are animals, like Miss Piggy or Rolf the dog. They are specifically mentioned as animals. Not animal. We don't know what he is, but he is an animal. But I wonder if they were okay. Yeah, let's kind of make this into a little critter creature family, with also the monster Muppets.
The ones that kind of got bigger.
You start running into them. You run into them a lot. When we refer to monsters, I say like Grover or Elmo on Sesame Street. I consider those are the monster class. They're just random fuzzy critter creature things. Yeah. So anyone along those lines. But it originated in 1955, ran through 1961. Then they kind of marketed the Muppets more into towards making talk show appearances and some advertising throughout the 60s.
Yep. Even appeared on Saturday Night Live for a year.
For a little bit, later on in the 70s. They began appearing on Sesame Street in 1969, which was another Henson company. But Sesame Street now is owned by, I know HBO has the rights to Fraggle Rock, and I think Sesame Street.
Somebody on Reddit had mentioned, like, essentially without the Muppets, there would be no HBO.
There wouldn't be. Yeah, the Fraggle Rock was, which was a spin-off post Muppets in the 80s. Right. Fraggle Rock was the first series acquired by HBO as television that they could produce or put out under their name. That started. We wouldn't have Sopranos or Sex and the City. Right. That's Game of Thrones. It's crazy.
It's just nuts to think that something, I don't want to say as small because Muppets have been huge and influential everywhere, but something as small as somebody having this concept for a puppet show that really was kind of written for adults, that set so much in motion for the future, and I mean, guys, we're still back in the 60s here that we're talking.
Yeah, 60s and 70s. And like you mentioned, when they got to SNL, and we'd mentioned that they've always kind of been in the zeitgeist. The Muppets started pulling in, their celebrity guests. Right. They started interacting with people who were very famous at the time.
And that's where Henson had met them he worked on SNL, and that's where he kind of rubbed elbows with some of these more famous types.
Sure.
And then was able to kind of bring them on for to be guests on the Muppet Show.
Yeah, which started in '76. They were on SNL for about a year. Kind of, I believe it was considered like a soft intro, sort of them into a primetime NBC on the station. The Muppet Show ran for 5 years. It ended in 1981. It won 4 primetime Emmys, which is
really
phenomenal.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
wow.
It was nominated for 20 some odd or something, but won 4 of them.
Oh my gosh!
And like we had mentioned, it would star people like Steve Martin, Don Knotts, huge names, Mark Hamill. Right after in '77, they had Mark Hamill on, and he does pigs in space, and so it's like a takeoff. And I think C-3PO and R2-D2 show up. Yeah, and Miss Piggy, I believe, has a huge crush on Mark Hamill.
I gotta say, I've never been a big fan of Miss Piggy. I've tried. Oh, yeah. I guess I always, and I think part of my problem, I'm gonna alienate some people by saying this. I can't help but think about the All About That Bass Girl when I see Miss Piggy.
Oh, Meghan Trainor.
Meghan Trainor.
I think they did a music video together or something. Well, Meghan Trainor is involved with Disney a lot. She sings on their events. I'm almost certain.
See, I'm not a big Meghan Trainor fan. If you are, that is totally great.
Awesome. And if you're a Miss Piggy fan,
even
she
better.
She might be your favorite. She's not my favorite Muppet. I believe she is a point of contention for Kermit. Although Kermit, he does love her, and it's always there's a really funny instance. There was a 1980s Christmas special that my family would watch pretty much every year. Yeah, where the Muppets go to Fozzie's grandma's house and apparently she was trying to leave for a surf vacation in California, but then they start showing up, so she has to put them in the house for all the Muppets. Then the Sesame Street gang shows up, so it's like a whole crazy mess.
I always forget that those worlds are mixed.
It was one of the first introductions to Fraggle Rock as well. They had the characters from Fraggle Rock. They talked about a Fraggle hole. They go into Grandma's basement.
Fraggle Rock is actually one that I've never seen.
I never watched it really
in any capacity. I've never.
It is one. I don't want to dive too much into it because we might do it for a future episode. Because a lot of people were, you don't know Fraggle Rock, they take it
right.
But
well, I mean, if we were talking about like the Henson universe, we could go on
the Hensiverse,
the Hensiverse. That could last for probably for the entirety of our podcast.
But but one of my favorite is a classic guest star they had on was Elton John. I don't know. It's a very famous clip. Watch it on YouTube. We'll probably post it on the page as well.
Yeah.
But
we'll post up
it's
a link.
Elton John dressed in the craziest feather outfit you've ever seen.
What's new?
And he sings Crocodile Rock.
I remember that. Yeah.
With all these Muppet crocodiles, and the band that's playing with him is Dr. Teeth and the Electric Mayhem, which is the Muppets band. Animal is the drummer. Dr. Teeth is the dude on the keyboard. He is one of those Muppets where he's got a Muppet upper body and live hands, like Rolf the dog, Swedish Chef.
Yep.
They all have. It's almost like a funny "Whose Line Is It Anyway" sketch where it's blind
somebody
arms,
else's,
especially with Swedish Chef because he's just flinging
it's
food
everywhere.
around. And it's
which I guess
nonsense.
The reason they did that for him was because he's always cooking. He needs to have that dexterity.
Or extreme lack thereof. But it's just one of those great tie-ins. They bring in these celebrities. I watched a clip with Animal doing a drum duet with Harry Belafonte.
Yeah.
So it's just these. And everybody loves it. You're like, you're watching a 22-minute show basically. Yeah. Where you get to, it's a variety show. It's the fun of SNL, but even wackier.
Right.
And so it's even a little lighter than that.
Well, and while we're still kind of in the past of the series, I just wanted to bring up, I never knew that the two crotchety old men, I did not know that they were named Statler and Waldorf.
Yeah.
And
named after famous hotels in New York. Yeah.
And I found that out in my research. I have always loved those characters.
I think probably my favorite.
I was going to say, I think they're my favorite Muppets, but I somehow never knew their name. And the reason, and I realized this, you guys, it was like a whirlwind of research for this one because last week's episode we recorded late.
Yeah.
So this
like a couple days later.
Yeah. So it's like, it's a quick turnaround on this one, but I never realized that was their names because I always thought of them as Marley and Marley.
Yes.
From the Christmas Carol. Yeah.
Yep. Marley's Ghosts.
So that's why, in my head, I was
the Marley.
Every time I'm like, it's Marley and Marley.
And if you're not quite sure, we're talking about Sandler and Waldorf are the two old gentlemen in the theater. They're up in the box seat and that overlooking, and they're always making negative comments or it's very sticky, old timey. Like, did you hear about the church that caught on fire? Holy smokes! Or it's like, do you think we're gonna like the show tonight? I know I will. I brought a book. So it's those two guys. Yeah, they're very, very funny.
Very slapstick is the perfect word.
Sam
yeah.
the Eagle is also a hilarious character to me, especially now in today's political climate.
Yeah.
Sam the Eagle is so extreme in his love for America and everything. It's fanatical.
Well,
and he talks so like seriously and and everything is madness around him. He's one of those, he's a straight man in the show where everyone else is madness.
Well, and wasn't that character developed in the UK? I want to say that character was like, I think it was when everything was kind of still over there. And
well, it was a very contentious time in the United States. They were coming out of Nixon's, all that turmoil in the mid 70s. Yeah. So it was a very, SNL would be poking fun politically a lot. It was just kind of how it became, and especially with variety shows. But yeah, it always crazy stuff. They were trying to keep up with SNL, I think, in that.
Right.
Yeah. And then they did start producing some movies in the late 70s. The Muppet movie, first in 1979. Yep. There was a great Muppet Caper in 1881. And the Muppets Take Manhattan.
Wait, did you say 1881?
1881. 1981. And then in Muppets Take Manhattan, which is one of a hugely popular heist film in 1984. Yeah. Here is the interesting part, and then here is where Walt will be knocking on our door with the legal team. Yep. This is when Disney's involvement started happening. They didn't fully acquire them
until 2004.
Till about 20 years later. But they started making a deal with Jim Henson in 1989 to bring the Muppets to the newly produced Hollywood studios in Disney World. Down in Florida. Yeah. And Muppet 3D Vision is one of my first memories of the Muppets. My family, we went to Disney World a lot when we were younger. And it's in Hollywood Studios. It's a 3D movie event. You go into the Muppet Theater, into Muppet Studios. Done this. It's amazing. And
you're bringing back some weird, nostalgic
and you're
memories.
They're doing all the fun gags, like a sign going at you. And it's like Kermit walking through the studios, and they're producing, Bunsen and Beaker are producing Honeydew. Yeah, Bunsen Honeydew and Beaker are producing a new 3D machine for 3D technology to perform with or something. So that's the whole gag. And you're a test audience. And but Bunsen and Beaker are also two great characters. Beaker's always he just goes, me, 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 me. Yeah, yeah. And he's always getting completely dumped on.
Like, and he's the one who always gets like blown up.
He's the poor, almost guinea pig test subject, it seems, in the science.
I do like Gonzo too. Gonzo's good.
Gonzo's great. And the team of chickens, which was another recurring gag on the Muppet Show. There were several recurring little bits, like there was always a breaking news reporter where there was this very serious news reporter, but it was also that shtick humor of for instance, temperatures are barometers are sharply dropping, and then barometers would fall on his head. So there's a lot of that shtick. The chicken musical numbers, Gonzo would lead an orchestra of chickens. It's very common.
Which Gonzo, that was such a unique. This is such a random sidetrack.
Sure,
but his voice was so unique. Like
it was.
It's like you can't. It's like it got like some. We sound like psychos. People are listening to this and they're gonna be like, "What are they trying to do?"
That's kind of what it was.
It's this. Of all the Muppets, I think his voice is the one that sticks out to me because as much as I try, I feel like I can't replicate it.
I'm gonna do you one better.
Okay,
I'm gonna bring up Fozzie Bear because he is played by Frank Oz.
Yeah.
Of, as we know, Yoda and many other things. Yep. And that's why his name is Fozzie. F. Oz, Fozzie Bear.
So I found something out. I got to call you out here.
Oh, okay.
I found out that was actually a misconception.
Really?
He was named, oh man, it's somewhere in my notes. You guys, my notes are like a mile long on this.
We're gonna vamp while you look.
Okay, so I can't find it in my notes right now, but it wasn't Frank Oz. It was somebody else that was working on the show at the time. And then there was another character that they ended up naming after Frank Oz.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
because because I figured just F Fozzie. That's a weird name.
And that was, I guess that was like the big thing is everybody thought that, and that became like the common knowledge.
I've been spreading that for years.
And it was so funny because I
apologize to everyone I've ever told.
That's one that I have to attribute to that YouTube channel, 101 Facts.
Great,
because he goes, Fozzie is named after Frank Oz. Wrong. That's what a wrong person would say, and then he kind of went into it. But I thought that was super interesting. I wish that I had made a more detailed note. I shouldn't say. I wish I could find it in my slew of
all
notes.
Of the detailed notes. Yeah, but yeah, Frank Oz, very famous voice actor who went on to do many, many great things.
Yeah,
clearly, was there with Jim Henson from the beginning. And then in Muppet 3D Vision, like we'd mentioned, that opened in Hollywood Studios in Disney World in 1991. Sadly, 1 year pretty much almost to the day of Jim Henson's death in 1990. It was literally to the day It opened a year after his death.
Really?
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, he died at the age of 53 years old of streptococcus pneumonia.
Yeah,
he was complaining of throat problems, was having trouble breathing, but he had gone to the doctor, but he didn't really think much of it. And then he said that he was trying to put off the hospital as much as he could, but by the time he made it there, it was too late.
Yeah.
But it was just such a tragedy. Go to the hospital, everyone. Just go to the doctor. If you feel bad, go to the doctor. But yeah, that is, and then afterwards, the Muppets kind of fell into a kind of a limbo. You know, you got Disney there getting a little bit of involvement, and then it kind of a little bit later, they brought it in 2004. Disney finally bought it out, so they now own it. Is now Disney's The Muppets.
Yeah.
I don't believe they own the Henson Corporation, but I believe they just own the rights to the Muppets. Well, that we'll get into a little bit with the future of the franchise in a little while, but I believe Brian Henson, Jim Henson's son, has kind of taken over the reins. And Zach and I were talking a little bit before, and we might as well just get into it now. As people may have remembered from last year, the movie Happy Time Murders with Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, well, this does bring us into the present.
It kind of brings it into the present. Yeah, well,
because that's where we're at.
Yeah, we mentioned this is the most recent kind of use of the. I don't want to say the Muppet rights because I don't know, because Disney owns the Muppets. Yeah. But it's that the Henson Corporation's puppet style and use or whatever, and Brian Henson's production. But it was a movie. It was panned. It did real bad. They got sued by Sesame Street because they were going to die on this hill. For their promotion, the tagline was "No Sesame, all street." Right. And they got sued. Imagine getting sued by your father's former associates.
And the movie didn't even look that good. I don't know.
And that's what you want to do for the future. That's what the name you want to make. Right. With guys, it's a hard R.
Yeah, I mean, just even the trailer.
If you're a Muppets fan and you haven't seen this and you're thinking it's going to be something like that, avoid.
Yeah,
it is not.
I don't know. I haven't seen it, so I can't fully speak to it. But I watched that trailer, and I don't know. There's something. I understand what they were going for, but recently, especially, I've kind of lost my taste for those comedies that just try to be raunchy for the sake of being. Yeah, it's like we get it. That humor exists, and in a very small dose here and there.
Yeah, like one instance in a film.
Sure.
Great.
Yeah. Take the Austin Powers movies, for example.
Sure.
Every single one of those movies has a quick instance of something that's raunchy. Something that should have probably pushed them to being rated R.
Yeah.
But they just did it once, they made it a quick gag, and then that was it. When a movie like that tries to base itself fully around...
Especially oh, look at this. And the thing is, too, you're taking products, these Muppets I've never thought of as children's characters. They're friendly for kids. It's great. And then the Muppet Babies, which was another huge success, which really kidified it, I guess would be brought it down. I don't want to say dumbed down, but made it for young children. But the Muppets have always, you're riding that fine line of, this is adult humor. It's just so well written. It doesn't have to be dirty or raunchy or graphic. But then when you take that and then push it over that limit to an extreme, you're like, I never wanted to see this. It would be funnier if you had taken the Teletubbies and then something that baby and then gone the 180.
Right.
I don't know. To me at least.
Even with that, I mean, I feel like the era of shock humor is gone. I think that I think it's when I sound like a stumbling mess right now.
It's the weather. We're so cold. We're shivering in the studio.
But I think that it was when the internet started to take over a little bit, that humor took over, because you had these 13, 14-year-old boys they suddenly had access to a microphone and
a mouthpiece
and Adobe Flash, and they would make these animations that were just raunchy for the sake of raunchy, and it led to that uprise. And even Seth MacFarlane released a DVD. I don't know if it was a movie or a short series, but it was just the raunchiest humor you could possibly imagine. And it was kind of done in that, Family Guy style. Okay. But it was just pure raunchy for the sake of raunchy. And I think it had a little bit of that uprising, and then it just dropped out.
It doesn't last long. Whereas the Muppets, they've been around since the 50s for a reason.
Right, exactly.
Don't mess with success. Did you want to get into the video game, since we're kind of talking now? Yeah.
So now we're in the present state of the franchise.
There were the newer movies in 2011 and 2014 with Jason Segel and Tina Fey, respectively. I definitely want to talk about those
too. But the Muppet video games. So I was doing some research on this because I'm a huge gamer, and I couldn't remember ever seeing a Muppets video game.
I was thinking the exact same thing, and then I wonder. I'm like, were they children's games? So I never just kind of happened on them?
So I did a little bit of browsing around, and I'm actually looking at a list right now. They had some. There was one on the Game Boy Advance. There was a couple for the original PlayStation.
I had one for PS Vita.
Yeah, for the PS2. And I was looking, and like the one for PS2, for example, Muppets Party Cruise, it was essentially Mario Party. It was when those games were just kind of blowing up.
Okay. I looked at it. I was like, oh, I've never heard of this. I looked it up.
There was Mario Party. There was that Pac-Man one, Pac-Man Fever.
Well, they were on Just Dance Disney Party in 2012. So on these kind of, I don't want just kind of freed. We have the rights to all these different franchises kind of, and we just plug them in a random game that doesn't really matter. But in 1996, there was Treasure Island, which based off of the movie Muppet Treasure Island, which we didn't discuss, which was phenomenal. Tim Curry was the bad. Oh, great. We've got cabin fever.
Yeah.
I will never forget that.
Gosh, it's been so long. I might have watched that like once when I was a kid.
It's a good.
It's been a long time.
That and Christmas Carol might be my two favorites of what I would consider the original of the 80s and 90s Hensons.
But even like these other ones, I mean, they have like a racing game, and they have just your basic platformer.
Like Simpsons had a racing game.
Right.
South Park has a race. I feel like Mario has done that. They made Mario Kart. It's like everybody can do this.
Right.
Now. You freed it up almost.
And that's the thing is like, Mario, and as much as I hate to admit it sometimes, because don't get me wrong, I love Mario.
Oh,
but Mario did.
Stay tuned, everybody.
Did almost everything first, but
somebody has to.
Right. But I think that's why, like, as a gamer, it frustrates me when these bigger franchises, whether it's the Muppets or whether it's South Park or otherwise, they see that formula and they just plug and play, and that's it.
They don't put any concern into developing their own team.
Right.
For instance, South Park, we mentioned earlier, they had an old racing game. They had an old Nintendo 64 game. They were just kind of like random copies. Yeah. Like you mentioned before. Then they've come out, they've kind of rehashed with the stick of truth.
The stick of truth or something like that.
Fractured but whole.
Yeah.
Where they are taking it on back to the old school RPG style, but it's a unique, new, very specific, only to South Park. You're not going to run into any other Comedy Central characters or anything like that in it. And they're smart because, like, we'll just get, and especially in this day and age, spend a couple $100,000, get a development team going. You're the Muppets.
You don't even need to spend that much.
You're Disney now. They have. What are you doing?
Right. I mean, and especially nowadays, I mean, you think about how much you can get done with Unity, and there are a billion free courses on YouTube.
Have there ever been any crowdfunded, or not crowdfunded, but crowd-made games? I'm sure, but
yeah, absolutely.
Nothing that really sticks out. Like we said, we're gamers, and that's one of the first things we look at with these franchises if they're available. And when I looked at this list, it wasn't long, and
I just haven't heard of any of these before. These Muppet ones. So I guess I can't speak as much to the video games as I would have hoped. I was considering, looking up some gameplay videos or something like that, but I did watch. I did look at some screen grabs and things like that of these different games. But it was so incredibly apparent the second you saw them that it was just that exact clone thing. And I said, I don't need to sit there and watch gameplay.
I saw the Star Wars Just Dance version. Yeah. So that was if it's as hilariously bad and missing the point as that, I'm sure I get it.
Which it makes me wonder though, because the Muppets traditionally they've had some good content, especially on their shows and movies anyway. But I also, that kind of got my train of thought rolling to the people that are making the video games, I guarantee you, are not the same people that are making the movies and the TV shows.
And you need to have crossover. You've got to bring these people in. I watched this little digression, but video on God of War and the production of that, and when they went to Norway and stuff before and after. And they're like, just going there changed our whole perspective. We thought we knew how we were going to design this game, but that really informed us. Just sending some. That's why they have real police officers on the set of cop shows, or you go talk to a real doctor to get all the medical terms on it, ER or whatever show that was.
And I can't blame the Muppets because if you have this franchise that's performing so well and making so much money, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, and there's toys and puzzles and comic books, and especially now they've got music CDs, and Disney can produce that for them. What I would like to see for a little push into future of the franchise, as far as video games go, let's see a tycoon style game.
Yeah, that would be fun.
You've got the Muppets. I don't need to play as a Muppet, or I could be a Muppet. Yeah, you make your own Muppet, but
Sure.
he is helping them build up the studio or build
Right.
up your own production company. And you do missions for the Muppets or
Right.
something. You know,
that'd be cool.
Let's see that, because that is the kind of, not plug and play, but the kind of easier game to kind of digest,
Right.
I think, for people
Yeah,
who want the
world that could be
product,
built.
but don't want to, necessarily,
Yeah,
I don't want to
yeah.
be Kermit, chasing around letters or something.
And then the other two things that we really wanted to hit as far as the present state of the franchise, and we realized this is still technically a little bit of the past, were the two most recent Muppet movies, which
Yes.
I believe it was only the two from what
so
I saw.
far, I feel the second one, and it was fine. Muppets Most Wanted, starring
and
Tina
I
Fey
saw the
and
second
Ricky
one
Gervais.
first. So
Sure, it was a it was a sequel to the first one, so it wasn't that same, because the through line is there's the same character sort
we're
of,
doing a sequel.
we're doing a
that
sequel.
whole thing.
And it's fine. I don't know. I think the first one, though, that first reboot in 2011 with Jason Segel, it was a powerhouse with all the musical numbers, and they really kind of nailed that old feel.
Well, and Jason Segel, he is such a huge, he's like a
write?
diehard Muppet fan. What was that?
He wrote for the film?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought you said, is he white? And I was like, yep, he sure is.
Muppet of a Man won an Oscar, or was nominated for an Oscar.
Really?
And it was written by the New Zealand comedy duo.
Flight of the Conchords. Yeah.
Muppet of a Man was written by, maybe not both of them, but I believe
it was Brett, wasn't
Brett.
it?
I believe Brett wrote it. Yeah.
But anyway, Jason Segel, that's why even in Forgetting Sarah Marshall, he has his puppet
Dracula.
putting on.
Yeah, about Dracula.
The rock opera.
Yes, that's great.
Which, if you guys haven't seen Forgetting Sarah Marshall,
phenomenal.
Get on it. That is one of my favorite movies.
It is great.
all time.
Yeah, especially if you're a Muppet fan. There's just a little snippet you'll see. It is quite good.
Do the Dracula
and then
musical.
Doesn't he he sings the Muppet theme on his piano? He's like, bum, 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 bum.
Yeah,
Like during I think he does that during one of his montages.
Yeah, it's... we could get into that for sure.
But you can tell it's great that he was in, because it's someone who appreciates.
Right. He has the actual passion for it, which you can tell. I mean, he brought that passion to the Muppets movie, which was in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, he was one of the writers on it. He didn't direct it, but he was one of the writers. And you can just tell during that movie, his passion for the Muppets, it just shows through. And I think that's what made that movie so special, and actually made it feel like a Muppet movie.
Yeah. And it's kind of wild too. It's just looking back on all these dates, for my notes, and it's just been something that has been in my mind my entire life, because they've been around for so long, and they are more prevalent than people think, or you even realize. I'm always happy to see them. When they pop up, they don't have a host for the Oscars yet. I want the Muppets to host.
Right.
Why not? Why not have Sandler and Waldorf up in a balcony and like...
You say Mordor first?
Mordor? Up in Mordor?
Up in Mordor.
Up in Mordor?
The Eye of Waldorf.
Yeah, the Eye of Waldorf. But yeah, I think that would be a great, fun gimmick.
Yeah.
That you could easily do, and that it would be so you don't even have to talk any political jokes or anything. Everybody would smile.
Yeah.
When the Muppets come out. It's one of those awesome franchises that... not everybody likes Star Trek, not everybody likes Star Wars, not everybody likes Lord of the Rings. But I don't know if I met someone who's like, Muppets, no. There's an aspect of the Muppets that
they found a way to sort of reach everybody, because whether you were a child when they first came out, which if you were a child when they first came out, you'd be kind of old-ish now. You know what
I mean, sure. If you were around in the 50s, you'd be retired.
I should say, whether you were exposed to them as a child or whether you were exposed to them as an adult.
Yeah.
Because honestly, for the most part, I was exposed to them as an adult.
Sure.
Years ago, a friend of mine showed me the second Muppets movie before the first one. I forget how we even got to that, but that was the first time that I had seen or interacted with anything Muppet in, probably 20 years at that point.
Okay.
At least 15 or 16
these are
years.
For kids. You can respect it. But you're like, this is, I'm not going to pursue it because it's not for me. And then
as an adult watching that, though, I was cracking up. I was having a great time. I was like, it's relevant. They're making, jokes that actually hit and land.
A great thing, too, if you're having a party, throw on the old episodes of The Muppet Show on TV. Just have it running. It's great.
Really?
I'm telling you,
I can picture that. Yeah.
It's fun. It's one of those fun, you can just have it on.
Yeah,
variety, and it's really brilliant. And I think that was part of Henson's strategy with it, that you can make this variety show. We can just put these characters in. I love the idea that they're in our world too, kind of like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It's this idea that they are also actors. They're putting on a show to entertain everybody, and that's just fun, and that you don't even think twice about it. This is the world. They're as much of a person as I am.
Well, and I think that's the thing too, is they don't necessarily stretch their world beyond that like unbelievable fabric.
Yeah.
It gets crazy and it gets unrealistic, but it fits within their world.
It does, because the humans can also, if humans do come to interact with them, they also do live within some of the funny rules of physics and, the nonsense of it. But at the same time, too, it's just, you can have so many great, like we said before, straight men come on, or actors and actresses who can just ham it up with these characters. Yeah. And, especially, and they will never not be prevalent. It's kind of like SNL will always have a popular music guest on. It's just they know. Right. And who's not going to say yes?
Right, exactly. Although I guarantee you somebody has. Just
I'm sure.
Somebody up on their high horse is like, I don't know, I think I'm too good for SNL.
I mean, even Paul Simon was on the Muppet Show, I read, and they had, it's phenomenal.
So that actually brings us then to our future of the franchise portion of the show. And at this point, I mean, so Disney, I believe, still owns
they're
all the
full
Muppet
hog.
rights.
Well, I don't think Disney will ever. They're a gaping maw that will never release. It's a Sarlacc pit. They will take everything and take thousands of years to digest painfully. And you will just they will never get. You think they'll ever sell rights to anything?
No, probably not. No. Bring it, Disney.
Yeah, come on. Come on.
Until we get sued by Disney, this show will not be we will not feel satisfied.
That's how we'll get into, everybody's like frame. Like, those famous guys got sued.
Yeah, they got being famous for being sued.
For being sued.
They don't have any money, Disney.
But yeah, I think that it's 2014 was the last movie. Let's get them. If they're not going to host the Oscars, let's get them into another movie.
Yep.
It doesn't, I want another heist movie or another Christmas Carol or Pirate. It could be the Odyssey or something.
I'd even be up for some sort of like world exploration type movie. Like they
around the world. Did they Muppets Around the World in 80 Days or something like, or Muppets 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea? That would be fun. Yeah. That's also Disney property.
Have they done anything like that though? Have they?
I didn't see Around the World in 80 Days. As soon as I said, I'm like, I feel like I've seen that somewhere, but I don't think so.
Yeah, something like that it'd be great. Give them
Disney owns these rights. Put them in Cowboy Days. Let's see a Western.
Right.
I mean,
that's
or Knights Game of Thrones
beauty
style.
Of their world is you can really toss them anywhere. Yeah. And as long as you establish, hey, this is where the Muppets are right now. This is their universe for the next 90 minutes.
Kermit plays himself in most movies, but if it's Christmas Carol, he is Bob Cratchit.
Right.
And as long as it's like establishing rules for anything else, which just makes it incredibly malleable.
Yeah. Well, and that's something that they've, I think from the beginning, they set that stage as whatever we say the rules are for this episode.
Sure. Yeah.
And because they did that, they could really go anywhere with it. Like you were saying, it could be a Western. It could be.
They made variety movies. They literally let's take the variety show and then just pluck it out. Because this clearly worked. And
I think I would like to see a good Muppets video game.
Yeah.
But the thing is, and I feel like because it's currently owned by Disney, I think we're not going to see this. No. I would like to see it as a game that could be for adults too.
I think it would be a mobile game, probably.
It would be mobile, and it would be 100% kid-based. It would be one of those games that when you pick it up, it's 3 hours of tutorial.
It's friendly, and I want wisecracking, and that's like little jokes. I don't,
And like you were saying, if it was like a tycoon type game, that'd be so much fun.
Or it doesn't take much to learn, like a The Sims style, over top down.
And I would honestly, I'd even be okay with something like a platformer if they actually put some effort into it and they made it look good and they made the controls feel tight. Because that's the problem with so many of these kind of quick squeezed out games is the controls are just garbage. You know what I mean?
I don't want to pick it back up because there's no replay value, like playability or replay value.
Right. It's just like weird and floaty and, almost it feels rushed.
Sure.
And a lot of times I'm sure that it is rushed. They give these independent or even bigger game companies, however many $1 million and say, hey, make us a game. We need it in 6 months.
Yep. Do it. We don't care. Just make it look pretty.
Time it with the release. And that's all they do. But I don't know. I feel like a video game probably won't happen in the way that we want it to, but I think they have so much more room to grow for movies.
Oh yeah, and that it's TV and movies. I think we don't have to worry about that. That will always be. They will always be there. That's where they got their start.
Yeah.
As far as like we'd mentioned, they're at Disney World with Muppet 3D Vision. There's not much else at that as Hollywood Studios specifically, or in any of the other theme parks. I know that Muppet 3D Vision opened in Disneyland in California in 2001. And then closed in 2012. So I don't believe there's anything over there. So what I'm thinking, they just opened up Pixar Pier and Toy Story Land, respectively, at the parks. Let's have at Hollywood Studios. Let's have a Muppet area. You have your Muppet 3D Vision. That's go into the studios. Let's bring kids in, or make it like a playground-esque area. Imagine you help produce. You go into this big building or something, or big play area,
and you design your own.
There could be one more ride you add to it.
Well,
shops, stuff like that. So
my kind of final question for you here is: do you think that any of that would actually ever happen?
Oh yeah,
I would. My thing is, I think it would be really cool to see. My worry though is, for right now, for today's audience, the people that are actually buying these things, they're playing so much off of the nostalgia.
Yep.
And I think that with Muppets, I think the nostalgia crowd is now too old to buy into it.
I think you're right. And that's why it's interesting. It kind of brings into mind that they made their last movie in 2014. Then Disney 2015.
My voice just cracked. Did you hear that? Goodness gracious, the weather.
2015 was when their first produced Star Wars movie came out, and then that franchise kind of took over their.
Sure.
And I mean, they have other movies coming out, but we haven't seen much from the Muppets. Then 2011, 2014 did bring a newer, younger audience. We need to do that again here, maybe by 2021. That'll be the 50th anniversary of Disney World, I know.
Right.
In 2 years. Well, maybe brings a little something into the studio.
Really, the way to do that would be to launch a mobile game first.
Yes, launch a mobile game.
Launch a mobile game, build that hype.
Get the attention, get another movie out.
Yep.
Have some big TV appearances.
Yeah.
If it's 55 so 2025 is going to be their 75-year or 70-year anniversary. Math. 70-year anniversary.
It's okay, we're theater majors.
Yep, right. Let me do it. Yep, I got the same thing. But yeah, so I mean, they're in a really nice spot.
Yeah.
And it's also, maybe we're putting too much emphasis on the fact that there needs to be a future. Of course, there's going to be a future, but there needs to be a bigger future. No, I think they're just like, we're sitting on gold.
Yeah,
we got room. Well, we can live in this.
And really, if the Muppets just went unheard of from now on, or unheard from, I should say, from now on, I think that'd be okay too.
Give them a little break.
Yeah, give them a break. Let the Muppets live in their legacy because they've earned it. You know what I mean?
And then come back.
Sure.
Again,
yeah, I mean,
another.
Honestly, even if they didn't come back, obviously, I would love to see them come back. But if they never did, I would still feel satisfied. I feel like they've had this incredible legacy to them, and I think they will come back. But
it's interesting because Fraggle Rock ended, and Fraggle Rock does hold a very special place in people's hearts, even though it was a couple years of a TV series, and that's it. I mean, there were specials, I'm sure, but there was no movies. There was no level that Sesame Street and the Muppets attained.
Right.
And so I don't see it going by that kind of a wayside, but just because when you think, you're like, well, we're going to produce a TV show and there's going to be puppets in it. Oh, is it going to be like the Muppets? It's almost like that's going to be the first question,
because
standard, it literally set a standard. So.
Yeah, and even when you look at shows like that new show with Jim Carrey, Kidding, which I wasn't a huge fan of. I got a few episodes in.
I haven't tried it. My wife's a huge Jim Carrey fan. I am as well. But,
I mean, he's lost his mind recently. It seems,
he's kind of or freed his mind. I don't know.
However you want
to look at it.
I'm still a huge fan.
Oh
but, I don't know, that series wasn't that. To me,
it's dark Carrey.
It is, but
Carey.
The way that it was filmed, and we can get into this another time, but in short, the way that it was filmed felt very cheap. Like they copped out of a lot of things.
Is it Showtime or?
Yeah, Showtime.
What are you doing, Showtime? You got Dexter money, and
you got Dexter money.
Come on,
which I'm currently watching through for the first time. Dexter.
I love it until the very end. I don't want to say.
Yeah, no spoilers. But they have kind of a puppet thing going on there too, and you can tell everything is so Muppets influenced. Yeah. And I guarantee you that anything that comes out in the future, whether it's from the Muppets or something that has to do with puppetry in general.
Yeah. Well,
I can't talk today, man.
One last thing. Speaking of that is Star Wars and Lucasfilms, they were partnered with Henson, Dark Crystal,
Right,
all these
right.
people don't realize that you have been seeing their puppets in far more stuff.
Yeah, because Henson's everywhere.
Yeah. They not only created the puppets, they created the mechanics and the ability to keep evolving, that we now are back to practical effects in Star Wars movies, which I love.
Right.
They have advanced, continue, and will continue to. BB-8, that's amazing.
Yeah,
You look at that, and like that is a puppet in itself.
Right.
But then they were able to also create a free roaming robot out of it that you can control and stuff. That's wild.
So anyway, I don't know. I think that there's a lot of places that this franchise could go. If you guys have any thoughts, whether it be on the Reddit, the Twitter, the Instagram, the Facebook,
all of them.
or our Gmail, franchiseimpact@gmail.com, drop us a line. We want to know what you guys think the future of this franchise could be.
Please rate, review, and subscribe.
Yeah, that's going to be huge.
Those are the
for
biggest
us
ones,
too.
especially on iTunes. Those are huge.
But yeah, that's. I mean, we would love to hear what you guys think about it. I'm really interested to see what you guys think about the future of it. I mean, we can all discuss the past for hours and hours and hours, but the
past
future
is there already.
Yeah, the future of the franchise, I think, for Muppets especially, it has a lot of kind of open end to it. You know, you can go anywhere. So let us know.
Yeah, and there's so much content too. It's especially this one might have seemed a little more annotated because of there were so many dates, and it's a series that
you have to
keep it in mind of almost eras of it. So
yeah,
we are
historical
now in
context matters for this show. Yeah.
So yeah, if there's any franchises like that where there are eras, especially that we can dive into, that's great. Let us know. Any feedback is always a plus.
Yep.
And thanks everybody for listening.
Yeah, and thank you again to Reddit and the YouTube channel 101 Facts. You guys definitely helped bring this episode to life. So.
And we'll start using your names and usernames in
in
the future. We wanted to give everyone kind of
we have
a safe
them,
episode.
But in case you guys didn't want to be mentioned on the show, we didn't have time to ask all of you before we started recording. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will be looking forward to seeing you next week.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you so much for joining us today, everybody. The next franchise we'll be unpacking is Mega Man, which I'm super stoked about. But in the meantime, feel free to drop us a line with any questions, comments, future episode suggestions, anything like that over at franchiseumpacked@gmail.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or Spotify, and be sure to share so we can keep these episodes coming your way. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time.